everyone's upset because the Sorcery deck size just got bigger. Well, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. My name is Louie. I hope you're having yourself a fantastic day. Today we're going to talk about the new rules changes for Sorcery Contest Room. I know what you're saying, Louie, why are we talking about rules? You're not the gameplay channel. That is true, but there is some significant things going on in the Sorcery world that are affecting the market, affecting the community, and affecting stores and all this stuff. And that's the perspective I want to talk about a little bit. The gameplay perspective, though, heck yeah, man, there's some amazing content creators in the Sorcery community grinding out content who already did videos on all this stuff. So if you want the player's perspective, go and watch that content. I'm going to give you more of like the wider angle perspective than that. But there's a couple of people I wanted to shout out. Rudosaurus and Golden Eagle Cards. They are doing commentary from my 1K a couple weeks ago on Monday and on Wednesday. So thank you to those guys for making videos and doing commentary with the footage. So if you want to watch some of the gameplay footage from that 1K, go check them out in the links in the comment section. Those go live Monday and Wednesday, so the links may get updated later. All right, let's get into this deck size thing. If you don't know what happened, real quickly, they came out with a new rules update. This is the third time I've made this video. I'm doing it a little different this time. They came out with a new rules update and it changed the deck size. Basically, spells went from 40 to 50 and Atlas, your cards went from 20 to 30. And they did that saying that the intention is for the future to be at 60-40 and that was the goal all along. And then there were some more conversations in the Discord server about the word variance and about wanting the game to be less competitive. And there was some communication there that left some people feeling disenfranchised and also people just, shocked that this would happen. So everyone's freaking out on the Discords and on the whatever, and they haven't even seen the card pool for Arthurian Legends yet. Like, at least before you get upset and quit and you say the game is dead, at least see what the card pool does. There might be something in Arthurian Legends that just breaks the game in a way that you didn't think they would do. And they could want that interaction to look different and be bigger in the card pool. So I think it's way too early to even say that the variance is gone and whatever. So anyway, I was doing this video a little differently. I'm actually giving my negative perspective first, and then I'm going to talk about some of the good stuff that can come out of this as well. I think it will just flow better in my mind. So I want to get into the negative first, and that is there's a couple of things that happen when you do this. Number one, I think that the communication wasn't great. I think that, if the goal all along was to get to the 60-40, that should have been more apparent. I mean, I've been following the game very closely. I've been having conversations with lots of people. I've never even heard this conversation come up that might be in the future. This seems like a completely out of left field thing for most people. I'm guessing 99.9% of people, this was a completely out of left field thing. Now, I guess a long time ago, Eric, the creator, did mention that in the Discord server, but that was never part of the accepted understanding what was going to happen. And so I think the communication of this could have gone a little bit better. The reasoning that they were going to do that, the way they phrased it was great. They said as the game grows, they wanted to have that, with Arthurian Legends coming out, the card pool increased, so they felt like they increased it a little bit. So the way that they literally communicated it now was fine. But the way they set it up over the last year seems to be like a little bit out of left field. And so I don't love that as a content creator, as somebody who plays the game, as somebody who hosts events. I don't love that communication. I wish that was better. But then I feel like they went one step further as well. And Eric's a funny guy. He jokes around a lot, and I love the humor and I love the conversation. in the Discord server, he said something along the lines of, whenever the game gets too good and the competition gets too good, I'm going to do something so that I can win, whatever. Going against any idea that there would be a really competitive deck or competitive archetype in the game. And that left a certain group of people, I feel, feeling disenfranchised, like this was not the game for them. I don't think that that's where you want to be as a small, growing TCG, especially that there is an amazing community of people who love this game in a competitive environment. They are traveling to Gen Con, all the way to Sorcery Con. They came to West Virginia to play. There was a small number at West Virginia to play, I get it. But there are people who are traveling who care about that. We're going to get into the good part of this change and why I believe that more variance is a win for card games as a whole. And we're going to get into that in the second half of this video. But just because variance and randomness is good in the game doesn't mean that competitive players don't matter. And here's the thing. I don't think that Sorcery doesn't believe that competitive players matter. I just think their communication was off on this. I just think the way that they brought this to the community wasn't the way that let people feel excited and empowered to be a competitive player. I think that what Sorcery believes, I think that this is what they believe, is that how you play the card matters more than the card that you're playing. They want the way that you play it on the grid to matter more than the individual card that you're playing. And I think that's what they're going for with increasing the number of cards in the deck and that kind of thing. So my hope is that this was the first announcement in a series of announcements that are going to grow. And I think if this announcement came with a second announcement, we're going to get that in a second, I think this conversation in the community would be much different. I think that second announcement needs to be a tournament structure, an organization for competitive play in the game space. Sorcery has been in beta, it's been in alpha, it's been in beta, and Arthurian Legends is a full-fledged set. The game is now officially out, it is in there, it is going, it is out, okay? And having a tournament structure, in other words, every LGS across the country knows this is the round limit, the way that best ofs work. This is the way that we want the tournaments, this is how we want high-end tournaments to be done. I think giving the community that, at the same time you gave the community the 50 to 30 card deck thing, I think would have gone over a lot in a much better way. Giving the competitive players this idea and vision that you care about the tournaments being run and the organization being played, I think hopefully will, this is why it would have been great to have it then, but I'm hoping that as we lead into our Arthurian Legends, they have that in their pocket for something that I think will excite the tournament players, the tournament organizers, and those who do care about competitive play in the formats and in the game. Because bigger than the deck size, more importantly than the deck size, frankly, we'll get into the deck size thing in a second, but more importantly than the deck size is understanding that the team at Eric's Curiosa cares about competitive play. Just because they care more about casual play and they want to keep their game casual and more variance and that kind of thing, doesn't mean that they don't care about curating and organizing a competitive scene. And I think coming out with an announcement that, hey, this is the tournament structure, this is the round length that we want to see, this is that kind of stuff, putting that out there, just like most other TCGs have, I think would go a long way to saying, hey, this is what we do care about this, and you do matter as a competitive player and that kind of thing. So let's get into the good stuff and why I think at the end of the day, this will be a good direction, and this is a good direction for Sorcery as a whole. The big difference between Sorcery and your average card game is the grid system, and playing your cards matters. Where you put that card on the board matters a significant amount. Sometimes just forgetting to move your avatar one turn can be the difference between you dying and your opponent dying. You could both end up being on death's door. You could be one turn away. And if you forgot 6 turns ago to move your avatar forward for some reason, and you just didn't do that, it has a huge effect on the game. So go back to this idea that how you play the card matters more than the card you play itself. I know that's not, I know there's cards that are powerful. I know, like, you're sticking with me though. And so when you have a game that is grid-based and your movement matters, it adds another layer. And if you have on top of that layer a very, very easy to pilot understanding of a deck. In other words, your deck's going to do the exact same thing every time. There's no variance. There's no change to it. I think that works really, really poorly with a grid-based system. If you want a highly competitive game that is top tier, super competitive, I don't think Sorcery was ever going to be that game for you. And as competitive players grow in the scene, they will break things. When you add that grid system to it, it really, really makes it that you can break things even more. So I think that the more variance is actually a really good thing because it allows the game to be more about how you play than the cards you're playing, if that makes sense. From a variance perspective, it is also better for the average consumer. You can have those moments of really feeling good when you play this card that was really spiky and it matters and it makes a big difference. If that happens in every single game, it doesn't have as much of an impact. It doesn't feel as good when it actually happens. So there's a whole slew of things we can talk about with variance. I mean, if you look at Commander, right? Like the amount of variance that happens in Magic the Gathering Commander with one card, singleton, every card unit, that is why the game is so fun, which is why things have grown so well for Magic the Gathering and things have opened up so big in the last 5 years for Magic the Gathering. And I think that Sorcery understands that logic, that if you can get a huge wide net, a rising tide raises all ships, whatever. The longer the net you have, the wider the net you have, the more the growth of the game happens. I think that's applicable to competitive play, because I believe that the more people that are playing, the easier the game gets broken in terms of people figuring out strategies and the competitive play increasing. So I think if I understand their logic correctly, more variance means that more players play, that it's a wider net, that it grows as a game, which then increases the competitive level within the game itself. If you add the grid-based system to that, I think that makes a whole lot of sense. So I, for one, think that I am for the increased card pool. I think I do understand it decreases the value of uniques and that kind of thing. I actually wish that instead of going to the 100 card deck, they would be going to a 90 card deck that would be 60 and 30 sites, so 60 spells and 30 sites. That could be a really good way to find a middle ground in the community for them as well. I don't understand the arbitrary number of 100. I just don't think it makes much sense. And the percentage that they are increasing the spells compared to the percentage they're increasing the sites percentage is increasing by more. And so I would love to see a 60-30, so you have half sites, whatever, because you're only seeing 8 sites in a game on average. You're only seeing 8 sites. So it really means you literally might never see, a site. I don't know. It's kind of wild on that regard. But at the end of the day, if Sorcery wants players playing and people in seats and using their organized play platform, they have to show the community that organized play and competitive play matters to them. Coming out and saying the way that they said this change and how much they value variance and what they're willing to do to keep variance made it feel like they don't value competitive play and that. I personally have had conversations with the team at Sorcery. I believe that they really do care about Gen Cons and big tournaments and Sorcery Con. I really believe that they care about local game stores running events, and I think if they can communicate a tournament structure and an organization for how competitive play will be run, that would give a lot of weight to the competitive players feeling valued and that they do matter within the game. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Make sure you go watch those other content creators who are playing the game, have a different perspective than that. But I'm very curious to hear what you have to say. Hopefully you have yourself a fantastic day. Be kind to the people around you. We'll see you again in the next video.